Greetings, the face behind the ink, no doubt. So it seems kind of interesting to see the world as it's evolving these days. You would think that dystopian fiction that you would see in the 80s and 90s would be fiction. You wouldn't think that human nature would drag people down to the lowest common denominator here on planet Earth and then elevate the people who are in charge of everything above and beyond the lowly herd. 1984 as a cautionary tale seems kind of a cliche these days, but then again, you look at what's happening in the world today and it makes you kind of wonder, what are the people in charge really thinking? And this kind of comes into light with my fiction writing. I have quite a few stories that I've been working on, and they came about in, I won't say the global event that was happening during 2021 that had inspired these alternate history dystopian stories, but they are what they are. And I'm working on them right now to get them completed. There's 3 or 4 of them right off the bat that I'm finishing up. But this comes to mind with dystopian movies. So I come across a movie that I hadn't seen before. There was this Blomkamp 3-movie set that I saw in the cheap bin at Walmart. And I thought, well, I haven't seen any of these movies. Someone said that Chappie was a good movie, and it is a good movie. But I didn't know that at the time, so I picked it up because it was cheap, and I was looking for something interesting to watch, something I hadn't seen before. But I saw Elysium on that set, and I was like, I don't want to see that, because I remember when it first came out, you had kind of like two groups. You had one group over here, was it Jacobin, some communist rag, saying it's not communist enough, it's not socialist enough, it needs to be more. And then you had the right-wing rags, Breitbart and the like, saying, oh, this is socialist screed against the whole world and it's just garbage. And it seemed kind of stupid. So I took that aside, because that was the reason why I didn't see the movie, because I'm not a fan of socialism. I'll just have to say that. And at the time, I just wasn't into seeing the movie. And so it sat, and here it is in this bin of cheap movies. So I pick it up, and I watch it. And I remember the articles saying it was either not communist enough, suggesting that it was communist, but not communist enough. And other reviews saying that it was a communist socialist screed against the world. I'm kind of like, that doesn't make any sense. I watched it again, and it has, well, both sides of this argument are correct, because, well, one side is actually more correct than the other. It's not communist enough because it's not communist at all. So there's cheap tropes about open borders. Yeah, I can get that. And then the free healthcare crap, and I can understand that. But these are not important to the movie. They're part of the movie, but they're not the core premise of the movie. The core premise of the movie is a man trying to save himself. He's trying to save his own skin. It's the most selfish thing a man can do. It's a very unsocialist thing for a man to do. A socialist man is supposed to sacrifice himself for the greater good. The right wing would probably suggest the same. A man is supposed to sacrifice himself for the greater good of his country. It's still a sacrifice, but this man was out to save his skin. Pardon the coffee. He was out to save his skin. That was his sole purpose, was him saving his own ass. So and I'm not going to get into this. I might make this several different videos in regard to the subject, because since I write stories and I write fiction, a storyline is very important, and understanding where it's coming from is really important. So I might delve deeper into Elysium. I think it's a better movie than people give it credit for. I think the special effects are top notch. I think the special effects are way better than the second and third Matrix movies, generally speaking. The textures and the colors, the surface, the treatment of the surfaces in the movie between the slums and Elysium, the space station, they're really well done. The robots are really well done. That's one of the things I loved about Chappie was the damage. The damage on Chappie was part of his personality, part of his character, and that this was carried through with him being remotely transplanted into his new body. That new body having the same damage, same imperfections, the same uh, defacement that he had at the onset of his personality. Anyway, so there's one detail in Elysium that I think breaks this idea that it's a socialist screed. And I read a website that was making the conclusion that Elysium was a closet conservative movie. I'm not going to say a populist movie. I could say it's a populist movie. I could understand that, but conservative, there's too many, because populism can still desire some forms of not egalitarianism, but certain levels of equality that socialists could probably approve of. I think there's some blurry lines between populism and socialism, anti-statism, not necessarily anarchism. Anyway, we'll get into that later on. So the one detail is the executive at the robot factory. So he's got this awesome Bugatti spaceship as a car nut, and a gearhead, I suppose you could say. The Ettore Bugatti emblem has a special meaning, and it's really well done on the spaceship, and that would signify the pinnacle, the ultimate of wealth, because even way back in the 20s and 30s, when Bugattis where Bugatti was, a premier luxury car, only the super wealthy would possess this vehicle, and that would make sense. So the thing about, and you could presume that he's the evil capitalist because he's making these robots. And throughout the movie, the only thing you see the robots in is police action, medical, and security. I would assume and military action as well. So wouldn't that signify a governmental contract? So you look at our current industrial complex that we have, this military industrial complex that we have going on now, where these companies have these massive billion-dollar contracts with the government to produce military weapons, armaments, and whatnot. So this would be, in Elysium, and this would be no different. You would have government contracts on this one business owner or this executive. And that would presume then his only business model is in line with the government. So his only business model is government contracts. He's not making money off of selling these robots to citizens, are they? See, that's probably one of the details are not specified in the movie. It would be nice to have specified that detail, but it's left floating in the ether, so to speak. But let's just say that he's a military contractor. And when he goes to meet the security official of Elysium, Jodie Foster's character, apparently there's this midway contractual thing that they're talking about, some agreement, and then she and they walk into this corridor, and there's a security shroud of secrecy, and I would presume that what she offered him was a threat. Make this security code, this hack, so that I can take over Elysium, and you will get all these contracts, all these governmental contracts, because I'm presuming she's a part of the government, and as a security official, she's part of the security arm of the government, what could be classified essentially as the military. I'm presuming there's an or else that's not mentioned. So, presuming that there's an or else, you do this or else. He agrees to do it. And you see it on his face that there was an implied or else involved with that. And so the question I have is, here is a man who obviously has the ability to make this program, this file, to take over Elysium. If the evil capitalist, the businessman, if he was the evil doer in this movie, why wouldn't he have used this program for himself? Why is he doing it at the beck and call of a governmental official? And so this is one of the details in the movie that suggests to me that it's not a socialist movie. It's a statist movie. I mean, what you're perceiving here is an autocratic military industrial complex involved in this overall space station that's lording over the Earth. Because, in the very early panning scenes of the city, you see these big huge these tower blocks. You don't see that in the rest of the movie. So are they part of the ruling elite that's on Earth? Is there a ruling elite on Earth? Because I would presume that, in an abstract, you could see the Earth as the peasant village, and then Elysium as the capital, or the castle, the king's castle, and then the space in orbit would be the moat. And so I don't think this is an anti-capitalist or pro-capitalist. I think this is simply an autocratic statist dictatorship. So I don't think it has anything to do with communism or capitalism in any slight way. Now, if you look at it in regard to the world at large, I mean, what is a thing like the Great Reset? It's realigning, minimizing consumption, minimizing production. What is the phrase? You own nothing and be happy. Well, you look at the denizens of Earth, the occupants of Earth. It's obvious that they own nothing, and they're certainly happy in their dust and their dirt and their filth. And the people that made it happen are obviously isolated away from the filth of the masses in this grand castle in the sky. And as a person who's got several dystopian pieces of fiction in play, finishing up one right now. I have a whole bunch of illustrations I'm going to work for it. Its initial release is going to be on digital platform, and then the illustrations will be added later on in a physical form. Direct print, I think that's what it is. But, in regard to Elysium, I think it's a really well done movie. And I don't really think it's given the credit that it deserves. So, anyway, that's enough of this ramble. Thank you for watching.